School Board.
Good evening. Jim Micho, 11 Waller Road. On this past Saturday morning, I wanted to send an email to the school board. So I went on the school board website and I clicked on the button to send it all to all of the school board members. And this is what I said. Basically, I said, though premature on my part, especially given the vagaries of weather forecasting, I note that this Wednesday night, February 5th, is highly recommended go to course selection night. Pinkerton, the almost 64% of current 8th grade parents and students. I also know that a possible winter storm was coming into play, and the snow date for Pinkerton course selection is February 12th, and that was going to conflict with the high school information night. So I asked the board if they would consider moving the high school information night. That was my email. What I got back in response from the school board member was full of sarcasm. It was very condescending. And it says, from the school board member, "Thank you for providing this information, Jim. It's very helpful knowledge for the 64%. You repeated 64% a few times. That tells me you like percentages. And you mentioned Pinkerton a few times, which tells me you support Pinkerton." He goes on in here to give me facts about the Pinkerton contract. And he says in year 6 of the current proposed Pinkerton contract, parentheses, "Here's the part you will probably giggle and get excited, Jim, is I'm going to combine percentages in mentioning Pinkerton Academy." The email goes on, and it finishes up with this. "There, Jim, I know this pleased you because you enjoy percentages and talking about Pinkerton, and I believe you want the public to know all the little details too. So I'm happy to have helped you to get your message out. Todd," I don't know who Todd is, "Todd loves percentages in Pinkerton too. I'm sure he will be excited and proud of my ability to highlight the important parts of the current tuition agreement that will be voted on in March. Thank you for providing percentages, Jim." So here I am. I'm a Hooksett resident. I'm a parent. I'm giving information to the board. I'm asking the board, would you consider? I wasn't looking for a motion. I wasn't looking for a vote. I was just looking for the board to consider tonight potentially postponing a high school information night. The response I got back had nothing to do with what I was talking about. And the sarcasm and condescension, it was sent to the Hooksett school board members. It was an official email. It was an email to them as school board members. It wasn't a social media site. I am offended by it. I know there's a lot of offending going on, but I've never stepped up to this mic. I've never harmed anybody. I've never called anybody names. I just take it really offensively. And that's school board member and school board member John Liskars. Thank you.
Would you like me to address that, Chair? Mr. Micho?
I said no.
Oh, I understand. I'm just going to tell Mr. Micho, I'll be happy to address that and tell you the context of that email afterwards. And it has to do with my personal email address being forced by this board.
Point of order.
That I get both
It's public input.
school board and personal emails in on.
Mr. Liskars, you're out of order.
Thank you,
Any
Chair.
member of the public, any other member of the
Madam
public?
Chair, point of order. I believe our rules state for Mr. Liskars to speak, the board has to vote. We've been over this back and forth. When people have asked you if they could speak, you said the board had to speak. So I think in similar situations come up, we should call for a vote of the board to see if someone can speak or not. That's all I have.
Would anyone from the public like to address the Hooksett School Board?
Good evening, everyone. Jason Hyde, 36 Edgewater Drive. I brought a timer. So here we go. There's been a lot of talk about a culture of fear. I believe that term was used, or that term phrase was used by Superintendent Littlefield. This citizen never felt fear coming before a board in this town until November of this year, when essentially the CEO, the head administrator of the SAU, threatened to come across the table and rip my effing esophagus out.
Mr.
That is, I cleaned up the language,
Currently
Madam
in
Chair.
violation of Hooksett School Board Policy, KEB, and also, one second.
I'm pausing my timer, by the way.
Yep, absolutely you can. You're in violation of policy KEB. You cannot speak of that event as it infringes on the rights of the superintendent as our employee of the SAU, so please refrain from speaking about that.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
point of order, while that policy governs us, it does not govern the board. We just made 2 motions which may have addressed this issue, plus motions we've made in prior meetings. You cannot bind the public by the policies in that book unless it pertains to their participation in public input or this meeting.
So, after that meeting, ever since, I've come before this board at the meetings I could, and I offer public input. I speak passionately, I speak with conviction, but I sit here, even as we speak today, with butterflies in my stomach. That never happened to me before. Because I fear of the reprisals from a very powerful man, from the chairman of this board, from her entourage, to use a turn of phrase she used in the paper recently, who have attacked my reputation, completely baselessly, who have asked snarky, open-ended questions with the idea of trying to make me look bad over things that they have no knowledge of. I have a superintendent wishing I was in the room so he could kind of try to stick it to me about something last week. When a citizen of this town is threatened by a person in power, regardless of who that might be, regardless of who that citizen is, it is incumbent upon the board who has purview over that person to hold that person accountable. If this were a private business, the person who was accused of that, regardless of whether they were guilty or not, they would be immediately suspended with pay, pending investigation. That investigation would happen quickly, for the good of the person who was accused more than anything else. It would be handled very quickly, and justice would be meted out, whatever that justice might be. 3 people on this board have voted not to address that in a reasonable manner, in a reasonable amount of time. There's an SAU board meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm asking you again, regardless of what you think of me, as a person, as a political candidate, as a citizen of this town, it is incumbent upon you to stand up for the citizens, regardless of what you think of them, or regardless of what they might think of you. If you were in this position, I'd do the same thing for you. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Alyssa L., 27 Barberry Street. I'm here again tonight to bring more Mr. Lascar's disturbing actions to light. Attached, you will find some posts on hooks issues between Mr. Lascar's and Nancy Helmsley. After he was again banned from hooks issues for using foul language and calling people inflammatory names, Mr. Lascar's created a female alter personality for himself. On page 4, it clearly shows a picture of Mr. Lascar's, then the following. Hi, John. Thank you for the information. This is exactly what I was looking for. I am at work, so unable to call. But also, I like to have access to this information online, so what you provided is fine. Nancy, John Lascar's, followed by his signature. This post was posted at 10:08 a.m. and then deleted. At 12:39 p.m., the exact same wording was again used in a post by Nancy Helmsley The exact wording is on page 6. I, in the past, have asked you to censure, take a vote of no confidence, remove his clerk status, and remove him from any committees he currently serves on. To this date, only his clerk status has been revoked. I have also presented you with a petition to remove Mr. Liscars from the school board. Because his outrageous behavior continues, I am again asking that he be removed from the school board position immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Knoll.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else at this time that would like to speak? I believe just maybe, at least while I've been the chair, your first time speaking, you just state your name and your address so that it can be recorded in the minutes.
Tanya Gardner, 17 Ridgeview Drive. But what I'm reading is more than 3 minutes long. Okay.
We typically, when the buzzer goes off at 3 minutes, I'll ask the board to extend your time.
So in drawing up a contract for a public policy that suits all of Hooksett residents, I find it difficult to understand how contracts with Pinkerton Academy, with ultimately a 90% attendance commitment, will serve our community right. Yes, this year 106 are attending Pinkerton, but there are still about 60 kids, 11 of them private, attending other schools, so that's 36% of this year's class. Last year it was over 50%, and next year it could shift again. To enter such a restrictive contract where we are now paying a penalty to Manchester for getting out of a contract early because it didn't work for people, I find unconscionable. I think that once the novelty has worn off and people realize the distance and the long days some kids will have, especially when they're active with extracurricular activities, the numbers may shift again. The drive on a perfect day per MapQuest is 20 to 30 minutes to Pinkerton versus 8 to 20 minutes to Central without any traffic. For most of us, our lives are already so busy with multiple children and trying to balance all their activities and still have downtime and family time, and this just with a drive to Hooksett and surrounding town schools. To say that it is not that far to Pinkerton is not true when you incorporate it into daily life. Every minute counts when you're rushing to pick up kids, trying to meet all kinds of bus activity schedules and events and work as well. How will kids handle such a long day? Just the daily bus ride for a lot of kids for about an hour from pickup to actual arrival time at Pinkerton seems way too much. How involved can parents be if they're working or are a single parent or divorced? And how involved can their children be in extracurricular activities? Probably a lot of family members or relatives work in and around Manchester, which can help with commuting, dropping, or picking up kids, which won't be the case if they go to Pinkerton for many residents. What if gas prices rise again to $4 a gallon? Will distance still not make a difference anymore? How will that affect the towns and families' budgets, especially low-income families? How will this impact the housing market of Hooksett? Will people want to move closer to Derry, or will Hooksett still be so attractive? Pinkerton, no doubt, is a great school with a beautiful campus and lots of extras to offer. That has never been in question. The question is it really so much of a better school to complicate the lives of the Hooksett families for the next 10 years, or to restrict their choice to 10%? When this whole thing started, the country was on the verge of an economic depression. Teachers were laid off due to budget constraints, class sizes got bigger, and books were not updated. Difficult budget cuts were made just like in any of our households. It was very hard for some Central students and parents, and they voiced and fought for change. In all the years we've lived in Hooksett, there have always been people who have complained about Manchester schools for multiple reasons. But there have also been a great amount of other people who have had nothing but good to say. And what some find difficult to deal with, others find great lessons to be learned. Students have graduated with high honors and have gone on with great careers and wonderful lives. This in Manchester schools, at Pinkerton, and all around the state and the country. And some have failed. That's life. I urge the board and the Hooksett community to really evaluate the pros and cons before voting on the merged contract with Pinkerton Academy. We're currently paying around $800,000 until 2018 for the remainder of the years breached from the past contract with Manchester. What if yet another school board votes again like this one in the future because of a group of parents that's requesting it? A 10-year contract with a 90% attendance commitment in ever-changing times is not good for our Hooksett community. Will you be okay with your child being put into a lottery if the minimum amount is not met? The way the contract with Manchester was written stated that Manchester would accept all of Hooksett children except those that would petition other schools on a case-by-case basis with board approval. Never was there a minimum or a maximum number that would not allow parents to pick. Now we're talking about 10% of kids that could choose a different school by year 6. One more point. I looked at the NECAP scores from the years 2009 to 2011. If Pinkerton truly was so much better than Central, then the numbers would not be in the 5 to 10% range, but significantly higher, maybe 30 to 40%. Numbers are facts, no emotions. Which brings me to my final point. Sometimes the most important thing is not a beautiful campus or all state-of-the-art equipment. For us, education is most important, as it is or should be for all parents. We value to have our children in diverse environments and meet kids with less fortunate lives than theirs. It is important to experience and understand different cultures, opinions, and lifestyles, and to respect them. Those are all things we can't teach them, but they have to experience them, and we will help them overcome the difficulties they may face. For a lot of parents, the same reasons to leave Manchester for us are lessons to be learned. With that, they will become better citizens with broader thinking and open minds to make informed decisions as they become adults. The bottom line is this proposed contract is too restrictive. It does not give all of the residents choice. The choice is made for them. For that matter, if the tides were turned and this was a negotiated contract with Manchester, we also would not agree because it does not give people reasonable choice for other schools based on their family's values. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brown. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to address the Hooksett School Board at this time? If there be no